Go. Hello, my name is Kwan.
Hi, I'm Parker.
Hello, Parker. This is an interview for Econ 149 about the Japanese economy. And
What is so unique about the Japanese economy?
what's unique about the Japanese economy is essentially its work-life balance and workforce in general, because they have lifetime employment. What that means is essentially once you get in a company, you're likely going to stay there for a while. They also have seniority based pay and raises, so they encourage you to stay in that company for a while. So that's what, and also they have robotics and tech industry that's really prevalent in their economy. They're really dependent on that because they're an import-based economy where they need a lot of energy, fuel, and materials and ores to make finished products to like get the economy going. It's like the entire system.
What happened during the lost decade?
Okay, so during the last decade, there was essentially like deflation and also like GDP growth like stagnated and consumption went down, and as well as stagnation. Essentially, this was caused by a like financial bubble in real estate, stocks, credit. Essentially, when it popped, everything kind of went bust, and so did the Japanese consumer in a sense, because after like the crisis, Japanese consumers started saving more and spending less, which furthered the crisis.
What are the vulnerabilities in the Japanese economy?
Okay, so the vulnerabilities of the Japanese economy is essentially like its demographics. Essentially, they're like starting to be more old people than young people working, and that's a problem for society because in general you need like a bunch of young people to pay for the pensions and keep growth society going. And once that ratio like reaches a point where it's like 1 to 1 or worse, where we have like 4 to 5 pensioners per worker, that will essentially like cause societal collapse because of the pension system essentially like exploding from that. And also the debt to GDP ratio is over like 200%. So Japan's like not really doing that good in like growth because of like stagnation and deflation. So the banks are trying to like solve that by trying to make Japanese bonds like look more attractive, raising interest rates, kind of like are also like deflating as well, with interest rates kind of like going down as well. They're kind of like doing everything to try and get a consumption up to the point where they could actually start growing. And another like problem with vulnerability in Japanese society is its reliance on energy, food, and raw material imports in the form of like metals, coal, oil, gas, as well as like food through rice. Most of it is like imported. So if there's like a blockade of Taiwan by China, or if there's like any type of instability in the Middle East, the energy supply will get like disrupted, as well as the economy, as well as the entire like system in general, because it's all like they're really dependent on imports to like work.
What does the future of Japan look like?
Okay, so the future of Japan kind of like depends on whether they accept immigrants or not, because essentially they have like no birth rate in a sense. They have one of the lowest birth rates in the developed world, and especially in like Asia. And because of that, they're getting like more old people than young people. So they need a bunch of young people. And Japanese people are generally more pro-immigrant than they were throughout history right now. But the party that's currently in charge, LDP, is pretty anti-immigrant in its policies and also in its stances as well. So they're trying to like have immigrants but yet not have immigrants as their official policy. But overall, the Japanese public is more pro-immigrant than like any other time in history, while the party itself, the LDP, the ruling party, is still anti-immigrant. So if they continue to like on this steady path of like decline, growing debt to GDP, and also like getting older in general, they kind of need this like new blood of immigrants. But if they don't get it, the nation will essentially like be on a permanent stagnation and decline downward, and that would be pretty bad. And okay, that's like the interview. Okay, thank you. Bye.